What's up, everybody? It's Wes and Hank tonight.
What's going on, man?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm excellent. All this time, and we're finally at wave 1.
We've done what? 6 or 5, 6
so.
or 7 of these? I don't know.
So.
Wave 1. Andy's not feeling so well, so he's taking the night off. Although I have it on good authority, he's in the background somewhere. We may or may not hear from
guy
him
in the chair.
Tonight. Yeah, everybody needs a guy in the chair.
Excellent.
I'm looking at our list tonight. I don't know. Did any of these people have a guy in the chair? I mean, on a sheer technicality, I guess, if you include Palpatine as a guy in a chair.
Guy in a chair. Bill Hader was the voice of BB-8. That's kind of like having a guy in the chair.
Han at one time was a guy in a chair.
That's true.
Many times he was in the chair. Where are we tonight? We are phase 3. So last week we talked about, actually, we should just check in with the audience. I know that Sean's here tonight. Sean, can you hear me? I hope we are not repeating our audio issues from last week, as it was a bit of a on the fly. Hey, we need to figure things out. We think we figured it out. Last week we broached the red and black box. And we're going to have no fear. Joe Fan is here. Hello, Josh. Hello. Sir. How are things in Bama?
In the deep south.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Yes, you can hear me. That's perfect. Okay, so everything is running smoothly as it should. Red and black box. We're going to be here for a while.
This will be the wheelhouse for a long time.
Oh my gosh. Last week, no, 2 weeks ago. Last week we got into some lore stuff. I don't have any lore stuff this week, but I do have some interesting, like, production things to talk about. As production things happen when you make action figures.
Yeah, there's a few anecdotal things we have, I think.
The funny thing is, as I said last week, I don't have any sequel trilogy action figures anymore. So I don't even have a piece of plastic to hold up and go, I see what we're talking about.
I think I have 3 of the 6. I was surprised. I really didn't jump on board. And after looking at my collection, I think Rogue One was actually when I started to just go ape poop.
So you were still 2 years away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sporadic. I started like I was still collecting the Black Series, right? 3 3/4 at this time, and then that became vintage collection.
Yeah,
but like the Chewie in this wave is the first Black Series 6-inch I bought, and that was the gateway drug.
I mean, if you didn't have a Chewie prior to now, this was what, your third?
It really was
second, maybe third. And I totally pass on this one, even when I was buying sequel trilogy figures. And now having looked at it through this lens, I realize that there are some changes.
There are a few. His eye makeup is on point.
Yeah, yeah. Me and my parents are out feeding the ducks at a local pond, and you're making time to watch us while you're
Nice.
feeding the ducks.
That's pretty cool.
I feel very honored to know that we collectively rate that high for
That's pretty
you.
fun. It's dark as heck now. I hope it's not dark where you are, and because feeding the ducks in the dark is kind of weird. Like flying a kite at night. Hello, mother.
All right, you want to get to what's happening this week? I guess I can let
Mm,
this one out. Everything we are talking tonight is Force Awakens.
yeah,
There's no OG trilogy, no prequel trilogy, no Legends expanded universe. All sequel trilogy. In fact, everything tonight is Force Awakens.
absolutely.
I feel like I should have mentioned this last week, but I don't think I was really paying attention. Everything that we're going to talk about tonight was actually talked about, was detailed on that Force Friday back in 2015. Even though we didn't
Yeah,
include them, I just wanted to get through the Force Friday exclusives,
that's right.
which I thought was worthy of doing. Okay, first one up tonight, and I told you to remind me of something.
Hmm.
You didn't have to because I remembered.
Nice. I have it mentally though. Yeah.
Okay, so first one tonight, it's Finn Jakku, and we had a bit of a conversation about him last week when we were talking about Poe.
Whether he's wearing the body glove or not.
Yeah, two things. Yes, he's wearing the body glove. Two, that's a new sculpt on the jacket. It's not the
Should-
same jacket
Yeah.
that's on the Poe. The small cutouts. The top one is the back of Poe Dameron, and the bottom one is Finn. And I dare say those are two different sculpts.
Yes, I would agree.
We've got Finn as he appeared after he crashed on I was going to say Tatooine on Jakku. It's right on the box, Wes.
Right.
Jakku. And as he stumbled through the desert, dragging Poe's jacket and ripped off his armor bits.
Yeah, because that's what flies off at a crash. Your jacket.
That's right. Cloudy, though a storm is about to come through.
Ooh, take shelter.
Oh man, I don't like the sound of that for you. That's terrible. 10 degrees. It's a little warmer today. Also a little bit warmer here where I live in Ontario by about, I would say nearly 10 degrees, which is amazing.
Mm,
How's the
yeah,
snow? Snow actually got a little bit of melt yesterday, which was good because I got to scrape some of the ice off my driveway.
nice.
Um, so Finn stumbles through the desert, ripping off his armor pieces, and then lands with the coat, and keeps the coat and puts the coat on. And this is pretty much his look throughout the entire movie.
Right. Yeah, he does. He doesn't lose the coat.
No, and or the body glove, really.
No, that's true too. I
He
mean,
stays in that for the.
there's even a beat in the script where he's like, "Oh no, the coat looks better on you. Keep it."
It looks better on you because it hides that stupid thing you're wearing.
Now, do we think like if we were to flash forward to, and I don't have it handy, I should have pulled it. The rebel trooper or the resistance trooper. I'm going to make that mistake a
Oh, do
lot
you
when
think
we
they
do
have the
these ones.
same jacket?
Yeah, is that a
All
standard
right.
resistance issue jacket?
This is me making a note right now.
Okay,
Resistance Trooper,
it's definitely the same color.
because that's coming. And they all wear the same jacket. So we will.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll do like a side by side
Okay.
with Poe, Finn, and the Resistance Trooper. The body glove is an interesting choice here because I feel like when we see, and I don't just mean Finn, but I mean any stormtrooper, like what you see between the plates is a lot tighter to the skin. When I think of body glove, I think of
Yeah,
like the surfwear company, right? Like
100%.
lycra spandex, like
Yeah.
form fitting. This looks quite baggy.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I gotta see, and I thought about rewatching the film for
Oh,
the
me too.
reason, but I didn't get around to it.
No, me neither.
Invincible is pretty incredible.
Is it back?
It's back for a third season.
Ah,
It's
okay.
very good. It's
I need to
very,
get back
very
into that.
good. But he looks like he's wearing jeans and a sweatshirt.
Mm, mm.
So maybe that's just for the like texture purposes of the figure, but it's really hard to say without having seen the movie in maybe 2 years. Maybe
I
it's been that long.
I dare say there was a body glove for armor and then this one for not. Like
Right,
it's two
right.
different. I just feel that's what a good costume department would do.
You would think the stormtrooper armor might have something built in to keep him cool, whereas a jet black bodysuit in a desert.
I know, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's indicative of the character shedding his old ways. I have to say, I hate this blaster. It's awful.
Oh man, I'm gonna get to that in a second here.
Yeah.
Josh says we had a tornado 2 weeks ago,
Oh,
and a few
geez.
days later it snowed. All 4 seasons in a week.
Oh, yeah. You should come to
That's
Halifax. So that
awful.
happens a lot.
You can get all 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah, yeah.
We mentioned that rifle was the same one as the Poe that we looked at last week, albeit there's no stock on this one. It's not even a folding stock. It's just
No,
absent.
it's just truncated. It's custom.
Now I don't know. Like I'd have to take a harder look at this one. The scope definitely is evocative of the DH-17, the Rebel. I guess technically it's an Imperial blaster. So is
Yeah.
the muzzle, for that matter. I
Hmm.
gotta wonder if this is built on the same framework, which of course the DH-17 and the E-11 were both based on the Browning submachine gun. Is this a Browning derivative as well? I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think they were starting to get away from like they started casting their own things. The advent of 3D printing, they started. They could rely less on stock weaponry.
I
I know
tell
that they
you,
made a few things out of like toy guns.
I think you're right on the 3D print thing, because when you look at maybe not Force Awakens, but certainly by the time we get to the Mandalorian, Din Djarin's blaster is like a very, very rare pistol. I don't think there'd be too many of those laying around that a
Yeah,
a
exactly.
prop master would be willing to, or a firearms person would be willing to part with in order to make a
Yeah,
movie prop. So I definitely buy that 3D printing has changed the face of prop making.
I would think so. I think there are even places. I haven't seen it in Canada, but it's probably around.
Yeah.
I'm in a small market, but um, you can like go into like a Staples in certain areas and have things 3D printed for you now.
Oh wow,
Yeah, so I watch for
that's
that
very cool.
coming to your neighborhood.
Uh, Andy is
Oh,
telling me that the resistance jacket on the resistance trooper is not the same.
okay, all
So
right.
that is the same coat modeled 3 different times. Isn't that something? And
Wild.
what's funny is, and I don't mean this in a bad way, is that the figure itself is a black man.
Hmm.
Like if there wasn't an easy reuse, because you could, I bet you the arms are the same. I bet you the arms are reuse. We'll take a look at that next time.
Yeah, I bet you.
So, our actor, oh my God, John
John
Boyega,
Boyega.
our actor John Boyega. This is at a time when Star Wars action figures in the Black Series are still not face print. So this is all just paint.
You could say derpy.
Well, you can, but like looking at this one, I'm reasonably impressed with this one.
Yeah, there are two variants of this figure as well too. There's one that's kind of shiny,
Yeah,
and there's one that was a little duller, but it's not so bad that I mean, it's a relatively good likeness
I feel
before
like it is.
the sort of face print. Yeah,
Looking at the articulation, this one's pretty standard stuff. No butterflies in the shoulder, but we do
mm,
have like
too
that
early for that.
chest kind of chest. I guess it's a ball there as well.
Yeah, midriff pivot. Yeah,
Yeah. So no waist, but sort of chest articulation, ball jointed head, hinge and swivel at the shoulders, hinge and swivel at the legs. No drop leg on this one,
no,
and I believe these are pinned. I
I
believe
think
they're
they are
pinned.
they
I
are
believe
pinned.
they are
I
pinned. I
believe.
didn't get a good enough picture to know for 100%. They are pinned. Okay, thank you, Andy.
Yeah, pivot at the hips. That's a nice little. I like that because I like to
I do.
when I
I like
pose, I
that as
turn the
well.
feet out. Like in a
Me
more
too.
natural
It
kind of
just
pose.
yeah, it seems way more natural. I mean,
Absolutely.
you don't just stand there with your toes pointed straight ahead.
No.
I mean, unless of course you're,
Right.
towing the line.
On parade.
Literally. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. And even then, even when I did, it was never straight. It was always slightly pointed out. So,
Right. Right.
um overall, looking at Finn Jakku, how do you score this one, Hank?
I give him 3 X Stormtroopers.
Ooh.
3 out of 5 X Stormtroopers. It's a decent figure for 2015.
Yep.
I really like the character, and I guess maybe even more than the character, I like the promise that was given to us about the character.
What? We're
If
gonna
there's
get
any
an ex
redemption,
Stormtrooper Jedi?
if there's any redemption to be had in the future, I hope that maybe Disney and John Boyega can come to some sort of agreement if this Ray thing is moving forward.
We were talking about that earlier in the week, and I seem to have gotten sort of my dates confused because I had read something that he had made peace with it and he was ready to get back on board.
I feel like he's hot and cold depending on the
That,
on the day of the week. I
is
mean, they
that
certainly did him dirty, and he was very, very vocal about it.
I don't blame him. And by that
Yeah,
time, he's so no longer under contract, so he
no,
can say whatever he wants.
and I
And
mean
absolutely,
right. And I mean, I don't know if they sue the crap out of you. If you don't do the third movie, but I can only imagine those actors reading that third movie went, "What the hell?"
yeah, yeah.
Or maybe they tricked them too. Maybe they gave them the Trevorrow script and went, "Okay, no, we're gonna film it this way."
I feel like we should revisit that at some point. I think Colin Trevorrow, if you're listening, if you're watching, dude, we need you to come to the galaxy far, far away. Sean says I give it a 2. Not one of my favorite figures.
No, there's a much better Finn coming up in the next wave.
Okay, and then Josh, just a cold ass 2. I was so excited, mind you. I was excited every time the trailer for these movies, for the sequel trilogy.
This is the first thing you saw was him sitting up in the desert.
I know
and who know that his whole acting stick was going to be panting heavily, but
yeah.
I mean,
Or
when J.J. Abrams tells you to pant, you pant.
A lot of yelling. Ray! Ray! How many times are you going to yell, man? But I was so excited for these movies. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but when I saw that trailer for Rise of Skywalker and she flipped over the tie,
oh, buddy,
I was in tears watching that thing. I was so emotional.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I have to admit, we all sort of went through the beats with this one. And I think some of the older folks like you and I were like, oh, at the Chewie, we're home. Oh, we all just went like, oh, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah. I nearly broke my wife's hand when they killed Han Solo in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. When Han walks into the Falcon, we're home. I liked Finn. I like the character of Finn. Absolutely. And I agree with you. I feel like they just did him, the character and the actor, a disservice by not exploring this stuff. But again, we've already talked it through. When you don't have a 3-movie plan,
right?
When you don't have a framework, you really are leaving things open to, oh, this might not work out.
Yeah.
But in terms of this as a 2015 action figure for the Black Series, and although I do not have it anymore, for what it was at the time, and for fans of this movie, and for fans who actually collect this line, I think that he's I take points away for the blaster because that's just a horrible aesthetic, but I think he's a 3.5.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think he's a 3.5 out of 5. He'd have been more if they'd let him do some stuff, but hey. Andy says, props for the dusty pant legs. And I agree. Okay, moving on to our next one. Our next one is a 2-pack. Of course, in wave 1, there was only, in the regular wave, there was only one 2-pack. And that was Ray and BB-8.
You got it.
Now, I've made a mistake here because I've included the wrong box.
I have the wrong box live here, so we'll double down on your mistake.
So isn't that something? This is an interesting one. Ray and BB-8, she's marked as number 2.
Number 2.
And she Josh getting ahead of things here. It's a 1. It's a 1.
This is 2 years. This is 6 years before they gave her the Skywalker moniker. I mean, 10 for hotness.
But 10 for hotness. Okay. Daisy Ridley gets a 10. Ray as an action figure gets a 1. What's interesting about this one now, by Ray, arguably, no, not arguably, I would say, and I'm a little emboldened. I would say that she was one of the hottest, and I don't mean hot as attractive. I just mean like hot in the moment characters
Mhm.
at that time in cinema history. The number of young girls that cosplayed Rey when this movie came out and subsequent years following, I'd never seen so many new Star Wars fans as I did with this character.
That was really nice to see too, because that's what you want to grow the fandom. Like, who knew that we were going to turn into a toxic swamp?
Yeah.
But I'm like, everybody's welcome. The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned.
Gaz is here. He says,
What's up, guys?
Gaz says, I said out loud in the theater when Han died, and everyone, and I mean everyone, looked at me. No one kills Han but Boba.
In the end, it was
Yeah,
guardrails
I
because
know.
everybody and their brother survives a lightsaber through the guts.
Guardrails save lives in the Star Wars universe. Proven many times over. So, talking about many times over, this figure proved to be quite the in demand figure to the tune where it was released uh, Wave 1, Wave 2, and Wave 4.
Right.
So, what we're looking at is a bit of a amalgam here because the box that we're looking at, spoiler, that's the Wave 4 box.
Yeah,
They didn't change the numbering convention on this figure. It stayed number 2 the whole time.
that's right.
What's important to note, and I didn't realize this, maybe I'd
Scoop.
forgotten. The Wave 1 release and the Wave 3 release came out before the movie.
That's right.
They did not include a lightsaber.
They were still trying to pull the wool over our eyes because the only thing we got in the trailer was Finn holding the lightsaber.
Yeah. And I applaud Hasbro for doing that. I don't know if it was part of the deal they had worked out with Lucasfilm to do that, but in a world where, and I made the joke in our private chat about Lego spoiling everything for the last decade or so, that they pulled that one off. You know what? Well done. That being said, oh, what's Josh saying? Yeah, I hated 7, 8, and 9 with more than a passion. I did, however, like some of the characters themselves. Just wish they didn't foul up the story. We're all there with you, I think. I'm there with you.
Yeah.
And
I loved 7. I have
I,
to admit.
I have
Even if
redeeming.
it was a shot for shot remake, I was in
Pretty
love with
close.
7
Is pretty close.
until then 8. Then I'm on the trolley with you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. I died because I was sad? Yes, Luke, you did. Um, so yeah, this character certainly brought a lot of new young fans to the franchise. So that was very cool. And Daisy Ridley was by and large for me one of the best parts of the sequel trilogy. I enjoyed her performances. I thought she was quite engaging. So I like this figure. The one thing that I don't like, and it's so blatantly obvious, not only in the blow up of the top head, but in the promo shot,
Mm.
the face paint on this thing
Oh
is
man.
horrific.
Mine looks a lot better in hand than either of those shots actually. I'm kind of
It is
back with it though.
horrific. Do we want to? Do you got one with you?
Yeah, I do.
All
If I
right,
can get the glare off it.
let me let's bring you up here. Oh yeah,
Can't get her in focus very good with this
that's
camera.
pretty close though.
Yeah.
The one thing, and this figure reminds me of, this is a teenager who's just learned on makeup for the first time.
Right.
It's so it's like literally pancake. It's pancaked on there. It's awful. Did I mention that she is hot? Yes, I believe you did. Gaz says, I don't have a problem with the character of Ray or any of the other characters. I just have a problem with that they called writing, with what they called writing at Lucasfilm. Yeah.
It's true. They cut and pasted a lot of things. I think it's indicative of a lot the way they make movies now with a lot less of a plan. Um, there's a lot less magic in the editing phase, if you will. Like everybody who's a Star Wars fan knows the story of how George Lucas's first wife basically
Edit it, yeah,
saved that movie.
yeah.
Like, I
Without
mean,
her
there's a
editing the
really
film.
famous shot of her winning the Academy Award for Best Editing, and the look on his
Yeah.
face is like, "We're getting a divorce."
It's
Because I
too
mean,
bad.
but you got to think you're in a dark room, you're cutting film, by hand, you're
Yeah.
taping it together, you're mixing it, and now it's just a guy at a computer in a couple of hours. I mean, certainly it's more than a couple
Oh
of
yeah.
hours, and
Yeah.
not taking anything away from digital editing, but you could literally shoot a movie with no cost to, like, oh, we're running out of film, we got to get it in this take.
Yeah, we don't have to buy film
Right?
anymore.
So there's none of that.
No.
So you can literally film, let's have her eating dinner on this side of the room, and let's have her eating dinner on that side. Let's have her eating a different dinner, and then we'll cut all the and we'll so you can actually make a story out of
Supercut.
pieces that you filmed
Yeah, yeah.
and hope people like it. And I think I see a lot of films that are like that, where the editing is just atrocious.
Just to address Josh's comment, yeah, no original ideas anymore. Just to repeat, it's a double-edged sword for me on that one. And I've said this before: the reboot or the remake is as old as Hollywood. It's been happening long before we were born, and it will continue long after we're gone. So for that, I that's not really a it's not really a strong excuse for me anymore. That being said, certainly now in the last, I'm speaking completely anecdotally here, maybe in the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, certainly we've seen an increase in the prevalence of that. And a
Yeah.
lot of stuff does feel like, wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, but you got to bring something new to the table and just make it, you've got to refresh it for that, for whatever generation you're trying to present it to. And it hasn't always happened that way. Hasn't always happened that way. Did The Force Awakens refresh the brand for me? It started to. I feel it was a good jump start, and I was excited at the promise of what it could be.
I mean, I have to admit that it it grabbed me, like I said last time, it grabbed me by the pubes, and it probably hasn't
Yeah,
let
yeah,
go
yeah.
yet. But a lot of good stuff has come from it, and we talked
Mm-hmm.
about a lot of this, especially in season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian.
Oh,
It
for
really
sure.
is a Star Wars renaissance compared to the dark times, compared to
Yeah,
even when all we had was Clone Wars and a
like
few novels, right?
86 to 98.
86 to 98 was
Yeah.
some dry times. I mean, we made our own Star Wars
Yep.
movies. That's what we did with role
We had
playing
a
games.
we had a kick-ass role-playing game from a company that no longer exists.
Yep, West End games.
We had we had the memory of our old toys if we'd kept them. We had the novels that were sort of happening at
The
that
Thrawn
time.
trilogy is
Yeah.
still like the
Really,
outstanding stuff.
really revitalized the brand. But even that, the Thrawn trilogy wasn't until, I don't know, what was it,
91,
like,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
Um, Josh says, I am dreading the G.I. Joe Transformer crossover. It already looks awful.
Oh, that's an old thing though. Like they
Yeah.
did that in the 80s in the comics. Marvel Comics had that
It's been
crossover
done in the
going on.
comic books several times over.
Right, right. Yeah, I think DDI, maybe Dark Horse did it as well.
There's some pretty good adaptations of that. And I don't want to get off the rails here, but like the one of my favorite ones as both a Transformer and GI Joe fan, the idea that and this, I don't know if this was in IDW's run, the idea that like Mars Industries and Cobra discovered the Transformers in the Ark,
Right, right.
before they woke up,
I
and so
remember
they
that.
they reverse engineer the Transformer tech, and that's pretty cool. Until the Transformers wake up and assert themselves and start like, hey, why is Optimus Prime in his tank? Anyway, that's another thing. Waiting for Tron, as am I. Tron Ares. I'm very excited for that. Okay, getting back to Ray. As I was saying, there was some running changes with this figure. The biggest one, obviously, the lightsaber inclusion. But the other one is she did get a refresh, if you want to call that, on the paint. And that occurred somewhere in the initial run. I don't know
Yes.
when, I
Yeah.
don't know where. Like, you may have gotten her in the first wave, and maybe you got the derpy face or the more derpy face. I don't know.
Those paint apps change across BB-8 as well.
They do.
Yeah.
A little more. We'll talk about BB-8 here in a second. Let's see what Gaz is saying. I don't have issue with reboots or remakes either. Just try to make it fresh without losing the original. I mean, they did a remake of Predator in '89 called Robo War. It was horrible but hilarious. Funny, I've never seen that. I don't think I've heard of that until now. Transformers are cool, but the stuff was hard to transform, so I lost interest. They break, and the parts get lost too easy. G1 Transformers, yeah, they definitely. I had some breakage on mine as well. They don't do that as much anymore. They just arms pop off and legs pop off. They make them with ball joints so you don't smash them.
Yeah.
Unless you intentionally smash them. Okay, so I know you'd said you'd like to do these as a whole.
Sure.
But like looking at Rey, 2015 Rey, what do you think?
So compared to a lot of the other female characters that come later,
yeah,
she's far better sculpt. Like she doesn't have those little spindly legs.
No, she doesn't.
You know, she looks like a human being, not a Barbie doll version of a Star Wars figure. Like some of them are horrible moving forward, but
yeah.
And my version in the box, I don't have her in hand, but in the box looks better than all of those photographs put together. So 2015, this is another 3 for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think she's a 3 as well. Again, partially part of the excitement for me. The big drawback for me on this one is the way that her, I don't know what you call it. It's not even a robe. The way that her robe hangs, you know how one of them is like a loop around her leg? That loop does get in the way of articulation.
Of the leg articulation? Yeah, it
yeah,
looks like it would.
Yeah, it does. So you can get, for me as a museum poser, it's not such a big deal, but like if you're trying to do something more dynamic, you may have some, your mileage may vary on that.
Yeah, if I was going to remake this today, it would have soft goods that would flow a little better. Even the soft goods that we get today, I would introduce that wire that the people do in customs almost as a standard item.
I would almost be willing to take a chance. And I know like this doesn't always land well, but I would do like maybe her upper body in sculpt and then the lower in
absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, to get
sort of an amalgam of both.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work. Color matching isn't always perfect on that stuff, but I would try it.
And if I was going to, in terms of accessories, she's got her staff. We get the saber come wave 4, which is the spoiler.
Yeah.
She's the main character. But I would have also, because it was super fun for me in the first movie when she put on the classic X-wing helmet.
Oh, inside the or just sitting down eating her food.
I would have probably popped one of those in there.
A pilot
it might not have fit on her that hairstyle. But we also had in Orabesh on that helmet, Rey spelled wrong, and I've never heard this clarified for me if that's where she got her name from.
Oh, that's a good question. See, if that's the case, the question is, did she paint Rey on it herself?
Right.
Or something else. I would like to know more about that as well. We'll have to do a show on that one.
Yeah. She has no name at all. Like no first or last name.
I'm gonna give Rey the paint really hurts this figure. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I gotta give her a generous, maybe too generous. She's a 3.
That's where I am.
Just
I'm almost tempted to. I don't know if I'm ever going to sell this. I'm tempted to pop her out of the box live here.
Oh wow! Well, let me know if you want to. Are you doing it? You're committing.
Yeah,
all right, let's solo you on that one. Let's get you followed.
We hardly ever do this.
There we go. Live unboxing. We're opening a 10-year-old action figure live on camera tonight.
Because I couldn't even get cover price for it anyway. Staff.
The plastic tray.
It's not so bad.
The staff is okay. That's another area. Like that would be a better one to put an actual string on it or some other
See, I would improve a lot of the soft goods with that, like because it would hang more naturally. You can see where they want it to hang with that
Yeah,
that
totally.
hook
Like
for the
that's the,
shoulder.
is she holding it upright and the loop is at the bottom, or is she like draping it over her shoulder
I'm
and
not
that's
going
at
to
the
pull the
top?
saber out because I bend them every time, and I've got 15 sabers right now.
That, and that's still, I should point out that saber that's included with her is the skinny blade.
It is the skinny blade.
It's the skinny blade. So yeah,
She's
again,
not bad.
not too bad. She still has that a bit of the pancaking of
And
the
this
makeup.
this molded stuff is very soft comparatively. Like you can get a good. It looks weird, like
It does look weird.
I'm not used to where my camera is,
She's getting a gust up her.
but the paint apps, and you can see the paint apps on her face aren't as horrible as some of the
No, no, like some of
early
the
stuff.
earliest ones. Yeah. So I would
Yeah,
dare say that's a wave 4. So she's definitely a post
yeah.
paint running change.
There you go. I'll never sell that again. So there you go.
Nice.
That's awesome.
All right,
Decent.
let's go. Let's move.
Maybe
back
she'll be
to.
valuable when the new movie comes out, and it's the best thing
I
anybody's
don't
ever
know.
seen.
Well, it's funny because they were so, because they
Awful
had to go
behavior.
back when they went back in Rise of Skywalker to some of the things from Force Awakens, and they ended up reusing the footage of Carrie Fisher. That automatically meant that Rey had to go back to her original look.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, they did have to like redo that hair.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we've looked at Rey. We're both on a 3 with this one. Our next one, I mean, he's no R2D2, but he is a BB-8. Now, this is the BB-8 from the earliest wave. And you're right, there is a running change on this one as well. It didn't really warrant a photo, though. I can tell you,
I have the weathered version if you like.
the running change is that the orange paint on some of them is a little bit more sloppy, and there's more dirt wash.
Yep.
On the other one. Let's bring you full.
My guy's quite weathered.
Yeah.
In terms of.
And I think that just sort of like that kind of, what day of the week did you buy it? What day of the week was it made?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with the hand painting as opposed to the computer painting.
I liked BB-8
a lot. In the first movie, I liked him a lot, especially the comedic beats on the Falcon.
That
was fantastic.
I liked him as a character. I thought if you're going to give us I don't want to say the new R2D2, but a new droid.
That's what they were going for, and that's what the head is exactly what I mean. And then you look at when we talk about Star Wars and we talk about the pushing filmmaking forward. When they built this droid, like they pushed that medium forward with that magnetic thing for the head for the body to roll. And
I do have one complaint, and it has nothing to do with the figure, but talking about making this, they made a droid. They made the fully magnetic BB-8 for stage to show him off. But like every time you see him ripping across the desert, that's not what they're using.
No, they're pulling a thing on.
It's guy with a stick, pushing the BB-8 on a wheel.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh, you fooled me. You wanted me to believe that you used this, expensive robot that you made, but you really didn't. It's okay though. It still came across very well on screen. He's a little bit more than a slug figure in the sense that he has some limited, like you can turn the head and it kind of. It's like there's a peg there that kind of.
He's got some side to side and back and forth, so you can't get him all over the figure, but you can definitely. And I think his head is like a miniature R2 head.
Yeah.
So they knew what they were doing for cute. You know what I mean? And now I can't get him to stand up. I don't know where his head sits.
There's one thing, and you can sort of attest to this when you're holding it in hand, is that the ball is weighted towards the bottom to keep him mostly upright.
He was sitting perfectly upright until I started mucking with his head.
With the head. And now it's off-centered?
Now he's off-centered where he wants to sit. There we go.
I would have appreciated. I know
anyway.
I don't know if they could have done this. I don't even know if they could do it now. Would you have appreciated even if it was a peg on, like the torch or something like that?
I see. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded. Like he's got a few things that he uses. Like he's got a shocker, and so I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind a popped out arm. I don't know how you would maybe incorporate that into this style figure.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That's for a toy company to figure out.
I feel like you could take a panel off and then have a peg on insert, like a to fill that panel with the arm. And I guess the other one in Force Awakens is the multiple lines when he's falling and he shoots all the lines out to stabilize himself.
Right, right.
But that's
I
really
mean,
not a
when you
practical
think of
thing.
the 1980 FX7 with like 90 arms on it,
Yeah.
and so if we could do that then, we could probably give him a little articulated arm.
So yeah, not a whole lot more to say on BB-8. He is what he is. He's a cool little figure. If you're a fan of cutesy and droids, and you needed more droids in your collection, well, this was definitely one to get. What do you give just a BB-8?
Just BB-8, I give him a 2. I give him a 3. I really like him. And I'm not gonna. That's not gonna increase the total package. The total package
Oh,
sits at a 3 for me.
sure.
But I'm looking at him closer in hand, and he's got some derpy paint. The what's supposed to be, I guess, sand on him looks
Yep.
like just like yellow paint, like
Yep.
tan colored paint blotches. It's not really like weathering. It's just like
A dirty wash.
it's not even a dirty wash. It's like I don't know if you can see that. It's
Excuse
like
me.
a patch,
Yep.
but like it looks like somebody hit it with a brush. Like, oops, that one right there is awful.
Oh yeah.
But no, not bad. I that's a cool little figure. And now I'm going to have a sequel trilogy shelf now.
So yeah, we're looking when I look at this thing. First of all, BB-8 is a cool little character. I like him a lot. And it's like there's this question of like, is he Poe's droid? Is he Rey's? Who does he belong to?
Right, right.
Right?
He seems to be everybody's droid. You would think that, like, having seen the movie, watched it, and digested it, that he would come with Poe.
I would have thought so as well.
Yeah.
Looking at BB-8 by himself, because he's really not much more than a slug figure, but he's a darn cool slug figure.
Mm.
I think he rates as high as she does. I think that he's a 3.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
I think that he's a 3. The question for me is he a figure or is he an accessory?
I think he's a figure. Like, what
Certainly
else
not.
could you do with him except for maybe a little pop out arm? But
Yeah.
he's not so big unless I don't know if we've hit full greed with Hasbro yet. Like when they're selling the child for $20 and
Oh
he's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this big. Like having him packed with Mando would have been, he's a little more than a slug figure too. He's got arms and legs that move, but
Yeah,
head
yeah.
turns. But I would say like a slug figure. What am I thinking of? Like the little creature in the deluxe Cal Kestis, like the little Hujib looking guy,
Oh yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
the Omega, the first wave of Omega
Oh,
from
the
the Bad Batch comes with that little
her
lizard
pet.
creature,
My
right?
God, I can't even think of her name anymore.
Yeah,
The lizard
right.
pet.
Um, and they're more of a slug because they I don't think there's any articulation
No,
to
zero
this, and
nose.
it's just like an addendum. There's no real personality to the character. This is a full on character. You could have a half hour short about BB-8. In fact, I think Forces of Destiny has a BB-8 episode.
Yep.
So I would say that there's enough of a
Sure.
character here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Ruby.
Yeah.
Andy had us. Omega's lizard is Ruby.
Ruby.
Awesome.
I agree with you that BB-8 he's a character. I just from a retail perspective, there isn't enough here to make him his own. Like there's no other way unless you start putting in accessories that either we didn't see on screen, which has happened by the way.
It has happened.
It has happened. I'm still wondering what that Echo's clamp hand thing is.
We never ever saw that. Maybe it'll be in the novel.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, it makes sense to pack him in with somebody else. Arguably, you could have done it with a Poe, especially the pilot suit Poe. But alternatively, this seems like another good choice as well. So, but I agree with you. I agree. Exactly. As Andy points out, and I'd said this as well, unless you go the R2 route and you have removable panels. Yeah. Start pulling panels off and then fill in the holes with accessories. Um, I agree with you. This doesn't increase the overall score. I think that Ray and BB-8 together are still just a 3.
Yeah. And I think that he's like R2. He's a major sort of selling feature for kids in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's too small to package by himself.
Absolutely. Oh, spoiler
And
alert. We're going to
yeah.
see this figure twice more.
Yeah. And once in all black and silver.
And I would say this, even without the lightsaber, I would still have given Ray a 3.
Yeah, it's not a very good version of the Skywalker lightsaber.
Josh says that my parents say hello, by the way. Dad's blown away that I'm talking like with people from Canada. He says how
That's
far
right.
tech has come.
You
Well,
guys are
hi,
totally
Mom and
welcome to
Dad.
be our 11th province, by the way. Totally welcome.
That's right. That's
open arms.
All right. Yeah, the whole thing as a package deal, it's a 3 for me. All right. We're moving on to the next one. Live, not like. That makes sense. Well, I mean, if
live.
Live, live,
Live from
live,
Canada.
live, 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 love, live. My English good. Sorry. If Ray is our supreme good guy, then we have to have a supreme bad guy. But he's not the supreme leader yet.
No.
He's just Kylo Ren. We talked about Kylo Ren a bit last week with the Starkiller base version. That's not this one. This is number 4.
Number 4.
Sorry. That's not true. Number 3. This is number 3, Kylo Ren. And oh, sorry, what's that? Yes, the whole 51st state thing to me is a bit much.
We appreciate that, and we also know that that is the sentiment of most Americans. So
yeah. Most reasonable.
We don't joke about it. We're going to fight each other, right? So let's joke about it.
By the way, I'm renaming it the Gulf of Tim Horton.
Right.
That's right. Looks like a donut hole to me anyway. Okay, Kylo Ren. There's not a whole lot to say about this figure beyond what we saw last week, although this is the worse lightsaber mold. It's the one molded piece for the blade, which I didn't really like. I know we get all the sputtering and the off the blade in the movie, but
yeah,
it wasn't that.
I don't think by the time you get to his Supreme Rise of Skywalker thing, you have 3 separate blades.
Right, which they had. So I mean, it was there. Yeah, exactly, and that's the way it should have been right from the beginning. And we got that with the Supreme,
and
not
the
Supreme
spare
Leader. Starkiller base version had that.
That's right.
So it was an easy one to swap if you had this figure. If you had both of them, which I did at one point. Articulation is the same. None of the snow effect, that wash that they put in the fabric, is there.
No,
this is just him.
I commend the soft goods though. So like and this is
really good.
It's so hit and miss with the soft goods, and you can see like a nice mix of the molded stuff.
Well, and there it is, yeah.
And it shows that it works, right? Like
this figure, kind of like the Ray. And I don't think I was aware of this until I started doing the research for this week's episode. This figure also underwent some running changes. You want to look at those?
Yeah. Let's take. I did not know.
Yeah. So there is our. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put in the right picture. So the lightsaber. Oh, sorry. The lightsaber did get a change. It's there. Okay. The biggest one to talk about is that shawl had more texture added to it to more closely match the soft goods.
Cool. Yeah.
Also, the hood, the soft goods, got a gentle retooling to make it drape
sit a little better,
more naturally. Yeah,
looks a lot like Dr. Doom there.
He does look like Doctor Doom. And our lightsaber got some additional paint apps, like you can see the red wiring
Right. Yeah. He had
on
a
the lower
yeah.
one.
He did. His lightsaber did look like he tinkered with it aftermarket for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, running changes on Kylo Ren. I had no idea that this had happened. So, and I can't, thinking back to when I had this figure, I can't even tell you which version I had. So
Right. I don't have. I have that. I can't. It's out of reach. I'm like trying
yeah,
to use the
yeah.
force to grab it, but I'll disconnect my mic if I do. So
Sean says that I have the maskless one. I don't
yeah.
know what number that is. I think his lightsaber is silly.
It,
I don't. I think it's quite cool actually. But again, I'm a big medieval fantasy nerd, so like the idea of like a big cross-guarded lightsaber, that's cool to me.
and the canon explanation is kind of neat that like he so when he's bleeding this crystal and it's presumably it's his old crystal from his green
His yeah,
blade.
original, yep.
um he was so mad, and you can attribute like not just mad like uh use your anger mad, but like teenage angst mad. Like how much worse is a 13-year-old boy than a regular adult who's mad.
Yeah.
um he cracked the crystal when he was turning it red, so it was unstable, so that
Yeah, yeah.
those two things in the side, not only are they um you know, like a guard, like you say, medieval
Yep,
weapon, but
yep.
they're actually a vent so that the
Vents.
whole thing wouldn't explode in his hand, which kind of got undone because uh, Ezra finds the crossguard, the green crossguard lightsaber in the
Yeah.
temple.
I feel like that is a case of like Ben, Kylo Ren, Ben
Mm,
Solo stumbled upon that out of necessity,
right,
whereas the one that Ezra finds is more of an ancient. Like the design was already there.
right, right.
I don't know if maybe it's multiple crystals in that one. I'd have to look that one up again. I don't know. If you slide down the blade, you could cut his saber in half.
Agreed.
That is true. Well, not this one.
With
According to
this
this action
version.
figure, no, because the blade it just surrounds the whole thing, which I just never liked that. Never liked it.
Yeah, it looks better, with the flares going out the side.
So, looking at these two, do you prefer the running changes or the original release?
I think I prefer the running changes for sure.
I do as well.
And if you were to just slap the newer lightsaber in this guy's hand, I think you would have something, even top notch.
I agree.
But
I agree.
it's a very cool design. I know they're going for Vader. It's not quite Vader. It's kind of like almost a dark stormtrooper kind of vibe. He's heading towards Vader. I have the Art of the Force Awakens book, shows you all the different iterations they had. Some of them were quite dark, like so dark you probably couldn't use them
Oh
in
wow.
a Star Wars film
I
uh,
really
for
like
his
the
mask.
idea, and I'm a little bit again not having that 3 movie framework to with which to. You didn't have a template to follow. You just kind of
Right,
made it up as you went.
right.
I saw an interview with Adam Driver fairly recently that talked about sort of the initial plan for this character, and I'm like, "Well, that was a cool idea.
Mm,
He's meant to be the inverse of Darth Vader. So
right.
like whereas Darth Vader is a conflicted person who
Has
starts
good in
starts
him.
dark and comes good,
Right,
Ben Solo is the opposite, and
right,
initially he was conceived as someone who's conflicted, and by the end of his arc is all the way dark. And
right.
the fact that we didn't get to see that, that's a bit of a disappointment for me.
I mean, they use the legends, when Jason Solo turns to Darth, whatever his face is. I can't remember,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's the emo Darth
He's
Vader.
emo Vader. Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, as any teenage version of Darth Vader would be, though. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep.
He's in his feelings like a normal teenager, but then you throw some dark side ability on that, and you're like, holy cow.
It makes
Um,
so much more sense now when he's communing with the helmet. I'll grandfather, I shall finish what you started.
and the three versions of this figure that came out, I guess four, including the Starkiller base
This
snowy version.
this
This is
is my
probably the
favorite
best
look.
one.
This is my
and
favorite look.
and for a 2015 with the molded stuff and the soft goods,
Yep.
and he's like his articulation is nice, um, and just the aesthetic of the figure, he's a 4 out of 5 for me.
I'm right there
It's a
with you.
decent looking figure.
I'm right there with you. If they had given this version of the figure the same saber from the Starkiller base version and the later releases, he'd have been a 4.5, maybe even a 5 for me. But the lightsaber brings it down by a point.
Excellent. Nice grab, man.
Ah,
Cheers.
Darth Cadus. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the one.
And his sister pulls him back. So that's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd say he's a 3. All right, Josh, I'd accept your
That's
3.
That's high for you, bud.
I accept that 3.
Yeah, man.
All right. Now, not like we haven't seen this one before, but hey, this one's in regular packaging. We're talking about the First Order Stormtrooper. Absolutely no change from the convention exclusive that we saw, 2 weeks ago? No, last week. This is the exact same figure. Do you remember what we gave it?
I think I give it a 4.
If we gave it a 4 then, I'm going to give it a 4 now.
Yeah. Thank you, baby.
It is easily I feel like this of all of, well, I mean, the iteration of the trooper types, this was chef's kiss for me. I really like this design.
100%. I agree with that sentiment. As a kid, I would have went psycho for the bigger figures. 100%, because it's all that detail, all that, like the detail in the sculpt and stuff is just like it's brought to the forefront. You can really see it come out. I know when I was a kid, there was zero articulation when
Yep.
Joe's hit. It was like
Swivel arm
suddenly it was
battle grip.
all about yeah.
Swivel arm battle grip.
And the I mean, before that we had 12-inch Joes with the crazy afro and
Kung Fu grip.
the beard you could shave, but you had that probably 12 or 15 points of articulation in those.
Yep.
And they were massive. So when we, suddenly there's that famous story, and I don't believe it for a minute, because the original Hasbro figures were actually marketed on the Fisher Price Adventure Series figures.
Yeah.
But there's that famous story with how big do you want Luke to be, and the guy did this, and that was it. That's a horseshit story, because they were literally modeled on the Adventure Series by Fisher Price.
Oh yeah. Like the prototype figures were literally molded on, like clay, like put onto them.
That's right. Yeah.
In the same way, it's funny because in the same way, they some of the Masters of the Universe figures were molded on Kenner Star Wars figures. So it's
That's
funny
right.
how that works out.
A lot
The
of
small
reuse
figures were fun,
across.
but no articulation. Oh yeah. I have a fake one. It looks pretty close to the box. Like what? Like an AliExpress one? Now, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't get your action figures from those places.
If you're going to army build, it's not a bad spot to army build from. At half the price or sometimes less.
Joe's were fun, but broke the thumbs all the time.
Yeah.
Yep. Thumbs and the groin piece.
Yeah, snapped a few elastics.
Oh my god! Fake one is missing the warning label. That's right, because fake ones have no risk whatsoever.
Oh, maybe mine's fake.
In the words of
I have
Robo,
no warning label.
Don't put it in your mouth.
Look at that.
Nice. No warnings.
Oh, I have a giant warning on the back. Look at that.
Oh, wow. How many languages?
The
multilingual packaging.
There's at least, God, there's got to be 15 or 20 languages there. Can we solo that for just a split second? That's actually mental.
We can do that. The multilingual packaging is an interesting thing because now, you know what that means? And I mean, if you've watched any action figure review stuff in the last, 10 years or so, you kind of know this. That means we can make one box for every market that we're going to sell this in.
Wow.
We don't have to make, the US box, the Canadian box, the Spanish box, the Japanese. It's all the same box. Does it have a manufacturer's origin?
Oh, it does. It says made in China. My box.
I can't imagine that there's anything that, action figure wise not made in China. I saw it last week. It looks fake. All right. So we're sticking with 4 out of 5 on the First Order Stormtrooper.
I love this redesign. If you can call it a redesign, it's more of an update. But I really do think this is the shining gem of the series.
I'm with you on that. This wave for sure. This is the standout figure. So no surprise that that was the launch figure for this was that San Diego convention one.
That makes sense.
I was looking at some of the other packaging, and I don't know if I'm really keen on getting into this. These remember they did that. They did it with the Riot Control Trooper. These first editions,
Hmm.
and I'm like, that's kind of it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I like that.
It's not the first edition.
It was
That's the
not.
first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
certainly not the first edition.
They did that
Um,
with what a Jawa as well.
a Jawa. They did it with. I have another first edition kicking around. I think I have a first edition Ray from. I think it's Last Jedi Ray
On that note,
in the gray.
when is in 2025, Hank? When is Take Your Jawa to Work Day this year?
Oh well, we missed it, so I might redo.
Well,
I might.
shit.
So that's the thing. I started a few years ago, and then COVID killed it. But since I started it, I can pretty much control the date that it wants to be at. So
It could be
what
a
are we now?
floating date.
It could be a floating date. Where are we now? We could make it March 6th instead of February 6th.
It is yeah, we're the third week of
We could
February
do. I'll
now.
start pumping that on Instagram. See if I can. I that
Take
was
your
some of the
Jawa
most
to
fun I've
work.
ever had in toy groups
Yep.
in my uh, my action figure photography. I wouldn't call it a career. It's just for fun, but
Yeah, yeah.
that was some of the most fun I've had. I mean, I literally got hundreds of followers from that. Hundreds of people sent in dozens of photos each
Of their Jawas
of their Jawas at
at
work,
work.
at play, at school.
That's cool.
It was the most engagement I've ever got off an idea, and I was just like, I'm bored, and
That's
let's
cool.
kind of let's do this. And
That's
people
cool.
were like, yeah,
I like it. I'm definitely down for it. So if you want to rebrand it to another
yeah.
day, I will get on board.
All right, well let's shoot for March 6th. Let me make sure that's a work day because I've done that before. Every four
Damn,
years,
it's a
it'll be a
weekend.
weekend. But
Well, you could do it say like, you pick a day of the week. The third Monday in March
right,
every year is
bring your
that way
Jawa to
it's
work day.
always that way it's always the same day. Oh dear. I just got home,
Oh,
just found a half-eaten chipmunk.
is
Well,
that a
that's good.
setup? Is that a
You
setup
don't
to a joke?
you don't have to feed the cats tonight.
You don't have to feed the cats. Everybody's going to want one, Josh. Waiter, there's a fly in my soup. Shh.
We got
Everybody-
one more figure to look at tonight to round out this wave.
Excuse the
And
can pop.
this one this one's kind of funny. If you remember back when we talked about sort of figures getting pushed back in waves
Hmm.
for package concerns, that makes this one extra funny because we're talking about Chewbacca.
Chewbacca.
Do you remember when Chewbacca was supposed to be in the orange box?
I do.
And they said, no, we can't do that. There was that prototype shown where he was all Akimbo logo folded into the box.
Folded into the box. Even in this box, his knees are bent
Well,
significantly.
they didn't release him in the orange box for that exact reason. They held him off and made the packaging a little bit bigger, put him in the blue box, stood him straight up, and here we are. They're doing exactly what they said they didn't want to do.
Exactly.
So that makes me laugh.
He's been open since like day one.
Is this the Force Awakens Chewie?
This is the Force Awakens Chewie.
I have to say, I actually like him.
He's pretty great. His eyes kind of bug me.
Why?
Well, he's got this. He looks like he's got this raccoon look.
Has he got a little bit of side eye going on?
He does have one derpy eye. Kind of looks like he's a
His
little
right one
cross-eyed.
looks like he's giving you some side eye.
And his bowcaster's plenty curved.
It's got some interesting bend
Screwing
to
around
it,
corners.
which makes me wonder. I saw some pretty horrific photos of that, by the way. So that I have to tell you, yours actually looks not too bad.
Yeah, I don't know, from top down, he's pretty
Derpy eyes, yeah, he
pretty
does,
bit.
Josh.
He does have a few derpy eyes. They're nice and bright blue. He's not the beautiful head sculpt from the Return of the Jedi version.
No,
Like
with the tufts.
The tufts, gorgeous.
I like the tufts,
but he's
I don't.
way better than the original version.
Well, talking about this figure, I don't know. Is there a figure that has used the same body more than this?
Maybe a clone or a stormtrooper, but other than that, like a regular running figure.
Every version of Chewbacca And I mean every version of
Every
Chewbacca
version.
has used this body.
Absolutely. Plus,
Like
we've had Zolbar and the really, really bad release
Zalbar
Zalbar
and the
and the
comic.
really bad release of Black Chrysanthemum.
Yeah, the comic Chrysanthemum have all used this body. Um, Oh, Gaz says a half-eaten chipmunk. Oh God, no, Chip! Damn you, cat! You'll pay. Rescue Rangers assemble.
Call Darkwing Duck.
I passed on this simply because I thought he was too close to the A New Hope Chewie.
Do you have side by sides?
I do. I do. So you want to see the differences between this?
Absolutely.
All right, here they are. So there he is in the blue wave, the blue line packaging, standing fully erect in the box, and in the black and red box, bent at the knee.
Mm.
We get a new head sculpt. So this one, the mouth is mostly closed.
Right.
And I like that. I feel like if my regular Chewie had gotten that head, I'd have been more excited for it. The other thing that they did was he got a new well, it's technically the same. I feel like it's the same. It's very similar, the bowcaster, but they've fixed like the issue with the peg, the bow portion pegs onto
Yes.
the end.
Yes.
The first one was notorious for falling off. But in fixing that, they said, screw you. You get no paint. You get no paint.
So it's kind of mixed emotions like that. So
yeah. I mean, because I can glue the end of my bowcaster on.
Certainly.
Right? Like that's not a big deal.
The one that really cheeses me off is that your version has a much better satchel.
Do you prefer that one?
Yeah. That's a nicer with the little dangly bits and the paint apps on it.
Not only that, but the number of boxes on the bandolier. There's way more boxes on the original trilogy Chewie.
Mm.
But I just felt that this one was too close to the original to want to buy it again.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I found the other half on my porch. Brutal. Oh, so it's not eaten at all. So the cats still need to get fed.
Stitch them together.
They just maimed it.
Oh my.
That being said, you don't have a chipmunk running around in your house. Maybe they were guard catting. I don't know. Okay. I mean, there's some other things going on here as well. The washes on him, the paint is slightly different, and that's okay. That's okay.
It's got a bit of a cone head in the original version.
Oh yeah, like a
compressed,
like a thumb.
Yeah, he looks like a thumb. Like a thumb. That's hilarious.
If I could doodle a face on my thumb. That's right. It's Chewie the Thumb. That's what it is.
That's awesome.
I like Chewie. I have a soft spot for him, but if any figure in Star Wars The Black Series is due for a redesign, this one is it.
I mean, yeah, he has like the nature of him, like he's very limited articulation wise because the way they've done his spur. So that's something I might explore. Oh, nice.
Andy says they did that in Thumb Wars.
That's funny. They might explore some almost softer, like so the sculpted bits that are around his elbows and knees are quite stiff.
Oh,
so if they could get that to be a little softer, like the stuff on Rey's pantaloons, if you will, then you might be able to get a little more articulation out of him. That would be quite fun. But I got a soft spot for Chewie. I like the way they've covered up his groin there. That's nice. What do you mean you've always been naked? I love you.
It's right.
But the first Hasbro figure, the first Kenner figure I ever got was Chewie. My dad bought me a Chewie, so it was very. It was like a moment for when I bought my first 6-inch figure. It had to be Chewie, so it was like a lot of things were bringing me into the wave, but Chewie was the first one. So he's a 4 out of 5, even with the derpy eye and stuff. Just because like in my heart, he's probably like a 3, but I'll give him an extra point because he sits in my heart so well. Let the Wookiee win, 100%.
Let the Wookiee win. It's too late now. Part of me wishes that I had this version of Chewie because I'd have swapped the bandoliers and the bowcasters back to the original trilogy one, and I would have had a better looking head.
Yeah, absolutely.
They should do a Wookiee wave and do a different one. I tell you, talking about Wookiees for a second here, that Chrysanthemum body, the Book of Boba Fett Chrysanthemum body, um, when am I getting my Tarful based on that body?
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I figure that one's coming at some point down the line.
No, absolutely.
Or some other generic Wookiee warriors from
Wookiee of the
Revenge of the
Year.
Sith. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So Chewbacca, The Force Awakens. What are we gonna score him at?
He's 4 out of 5 for me because, like I said, I give him an extra point for just he's got my heart. Like, always been one of my favorite characters.
Yep.
Uh, when I learned as an adult that he actually spoke his lines in the
That
movie,
that Peter Mayhew spoke
that Peter
English.
Mayhew
Yeah.
spoke English so that the characters could react to his lines, I just like it just always occurred to me that that was the case. Like
Yep. Yep.
um, so yeah, I give him a 4. Yes, yes, Sir Josh. Yeah, I agree.
Peter Mayhew is one of two. I guess it depends on who you consider the main cast of Star Wars.
Mm. You
Peter
couldn't
Mayhew
meet a
is
nicer guy either
Yeah, Peter
in
Mayhew is
real life.
one of the few original trilogy actors that I got to interact with
Hmm.
before he passed away. And to say, as you say, the nicest guy,
So nice.
that's an understatement,
Oh man,
you know. And
so warm and welcoming. And this was when I met him. It was like Fandom was still hot, but it wasn't like there was 100,000 people at Comic Con.
no,
You know what I mean?
no.
We were it was like at a hotel in friggin' Scarborough
Oh,
where I
that's
met
even
him.
nicer. That's
And
nicer.
I mean, just so genuine and like a sweet man.
Was his wife his handler at that point? Because
I
she
believe
was when
so.
I
Yeah,
met him.
I believe so.
Yeah, they were just as a couple. They were just the sweetest people, and they corroborated a story that I grew up believing from childhood, and it just blew my mind. I think I've told this on the air once before. I'm going to tell it again.
Do it.
When I grew up, you remember my dad's house.
Hmm.
You were there many times.
Yes, sir.
Our neighbors on the one side, they had an adult son, and he had gone off to live in the UK, and he was an actor. He was almost 7 feet tall. Stephen Meek. And when
Okay.
Steve left the UK, he moved back home to where we lived and moved back in with his parents. And so he was working at the library when I met him. And he was telling me about, oh, yeah, I was in Star Wars. What? Yeah, I was Peter Mayhew's stand in The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh wow.
In fact, in the scene, we're so glad you could join us for dinner. That's Steven in the suit.
Oh, crazy.
So I grew up with this, and I'm a young, impressionable kid, right?
Sure.
So I'm growing up with this like giant of a man who's telling me that, yeah, I was the stand in for Chewbacca. And you're like, come on.
Any large man
So,
could say that and
well,
be
that's what I
believable, right?
mean. So there I am. I'm like, I'm in my 30s, and I'm face to face with Peter and his wife, and I broached the subject with him, which I thought, you know, worst thing is he could tell me I'm full of shit.
Right.
And I said, I have this. I've grown up with this story, believing this story, and I was, I needed to know if you could corroborate that for me. But growing up, I was led to believe that my neighbor was one of your stand-ins, and they just said, "Who was it?" And I said, "Steve Meek." And Peter looked at his wife, and they both went, "Oh yeah." And I'm just like, oh,
That's fantastic.
I melted into a puddle on the spot. I was like,
Oh, that's
wow,
amazing.
that's cool. So my connection, I was 1 degree of separation from Chewbacca.
Fantastic.
I thought that was very cool. Imagine Chewie wearing JNCO. I don't get the reference.
Me either.
All right. I wish they would release a version where you can hear him speak instead of the growls.
There are clips on YouTube
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes clips for sure.
Also, clips of David Prowse reading or speaking Vader's dialogue, which is like kind of jarring.
It's funny, man. We came into this episode going, it's all Force Awakens, but nothing was low scoring.
No, but
we're like 60% or better on every figure here.
I do feel that that's the promise of what what the Force Awakens laid out for us. Like, we didn't know what was coming. We got this. In fact, this action figure predates the movie. So it's like, oh, well, Chewbacca's in it. We don't have the Han for this wave yet, or for this phase.
Oh, you're fully speaking American, bro. I'm not sure what that means at all.
Chicken sealed for ants. Nope. It must be some kind of some kind of thing that we're not. I don't speak. I don't speak America. No, that's not true.
Oh, okay. I totally know the style of pant you're talking about, but I didn't know they were JNCOs.
What do we call those? We call them like K-ways or something.
Parachute pants.
Parachute pants. Them's the ones.
Yeah.
I don't think I scored this one.
No, I don't think you did.
Let me weigh in on that. He's a 4.
Yeah,
he's
man.
a 4. He'd have been more if they'd have gotten the bowcaster a little bit better. Certainly straighter on some.
Right, he could have been a 5.
That head, though, that head is the big one for me. Like, it's such a I feel it's a vast improvement over the thumb.
He stands awesome. He articulates thumb just enough to do his thing.
Yep.
He's a meaty figure. When you hold him and you hold another pig in your hand, you're like, wow, he's actually, like, he weighs a bit compared to other figures.
Not as much as the Wampa from.
No.
Man, all right, 4 out of 5. That is one more look here at the running, not the running changes, at the comparison shots of Phase 2.
Nice.
Chewie versus Phase 3 Chewie. Yeah, that head is just something. That head looks like it could have been in the put some snow on that, and it's the Hoth.
It's
Chewie.
The Hoth version. Well, that's what I had to say is I have 2 other versions of Chewie. One is on Empire Strikes Back carded.
Yep.
And he's even different than the Return of the Jedi or the Force Awakens or the first version.
Yep.
But he's carded, and I have a problem opening those. And I also have the Solo version, which is my favorite, actually.
With the goggles.
With the goggles and the cross bandoliers and the cool looking weapon. He's like that. I mean, that I can't believe that Solo got shat upon so badly because it's phenomenal.
I have some regrets about not going in on the Solo line when it came out.
I have most of it. I have 2 vowels.
Oh, really? 2 vowels?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't know why. It was one of those ones where I don't think I have that yet. Got it home and went, I friggin' already have that.
looking back at that movie, and it's like, how do you not love like Rio Durand or
That's a figure I regret not getting. That's the monkey creature. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, Jon Favreau. Yeah. Good movie. Although I have an opportunity coming up. A friend of mine in my my bi-weekly G.I. Joe role-playing group is getting out of 1/12 scale collecting and has a boatload of Star Wars figures, and I've been invited to come and peruse them.
Ooh.
So
take some pictures.
I most definitely will. So
yes, sir.
We're trying to work something out so I can go and visit. That's it for Phase 3, Wave 1 of Star Wars The Black Series, right here on our little show.
Episode 5, Wave 1.
Back in Black series.
Always
we'll do this again. We'll do this again for a couple of more weeks until we get into Daredevil. I think we've pretty much landed on Daredevil's going to be the next thing.
Yeah, I hope it's good because we've been basing that off that Wicked trailer.
I know. I will say this with a caveat: if the first episode, or if they do a double episode drop or whatever, if it's bad,
yes,
we reserve the right to say we're not going to.
Let's just keep going on Black Series. I agree. That's probably a good bet. But then, I still maintain, and I know this is controversial among us, but maybe not the whole world. But
sure,
the original Netflix Daredevil run is my favorite thing that Marvel has done since it started doing live action stuff.
More than the movies?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is a hot take. Yeah. Wow,
I love it.
I couldn't even get close to scoring it that high.
Wow.
That's amazing.
No, it's my favorite Marvel property so far.
Mine's still Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier is top notch. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. Absolutely. That's Daredevil, Vincent D'Onofrio and They just kicked it out of the park.
Of the Netflix Marvel properties, it was the best one.
Easily, yes, yeah. The rest, I
Yeah.
mean, they were hit and miss. They had part like Iron Fist was horrible. I think they did that. Not the actor, who's an excellent actor, and the character.
Finn Jones.
They did them both things like kind of like Finn. They did them both dirty because
That's two
that's an
Finns.
excellent character.
That's two Finns.
So the Affleck movie. So I'm a big Daredevil fan.
I
I've
like the
always
Affleck movie
been.
as well.
I enjoyed it. I've always had a sort of a soft spot for it. But when
There's one
I
thing I don't like about that movie, and it's only the one scene. Like, I don't have a big problem with a lot of the stuff in that movie. It's a Kevin
no
Smith movie, so it was pretty cool. The one thing that I thought was unnecessary in that movie was the teeter totter scene. Have them
the
face
fight in the
off
play,
in some other way. Not that the playground was a bad idea, but
it's
the
straight
whole
out of the comics.
the teeter.
It's straight out of the comics.
It did not translate very well
No,
to film
it
for
didn't.
me, anyway.
But that playground fight is straight out of the Man Without Fear.
Yeah. Um, they say that they will acknowledge the events of She-Hulk, but they will not. It won't be prominent. So
That's a good thing. Like you can't erase things like
the walk of shame.
you can in your head, like the acolyte. You can just
Yeah,
erase it from
yeah,
your head. But
that's right.
also, it's far enough back in the canon that we don't ever have to think about it again unless something comes up. But um, there's a cosplayer that I enjoy watching, and she recently cosplayed She-Hulk. And she's like, she's been one of the biggest detractors of the She-Hulk television show you can think of.
Sure.
But she's like, but that's not to say that the character isn't excellent. Like
Yeah.
that was, and even she got shat upon in Marvel Comics. You remember her second volume 2, and the cover to volume 2 was basically, you canceled my last comic, read this comic or I'm going to come to your house and rip up all your X-Men.
Yeah, that's a fourth wall break on the cover. Yeah,
Excellent fourth
that's
wall break on the
hilarious.
cover. Like a great character, and I just don't know what happened with that show. They ran out of money, they ran out of time. I don't know.
They were trying weird stuff. I mean, we got the well, and what you call WandaVision. I mean, the sitcom was kind of what they were
And
going for.
also, and that's the one that, like, I was like, I'm ready to leave, guys. After two
Yeah.
episodes, I was like, I'm not sure. And
Stick
then
it out, stick it out.
it cooked for me, and it did actually work
Yeah.
for me.
So doing the legal drama thing, which it was kind of hit and
I mean, it
miss.
was maybe a bit too much dipped in that. It could have been maybe like 75% She-Hulk and
Yeah.
25% Jennifer.
On that note, we've got about 6 weeks, I think, until Andor returns, and nobody is more pumped for that than I
Good or
am.
bad, I'm all in for that.
I love that show so much. Fight the Empire. Marva, that's not
And
what
we
you
should be getting a
said.
trailer any day now, too, from what I hear.
I mean, we just had, we didn't get anything from the Super Bowl. Is there any other events coming up that would warrant a drop?
No, but it's unusual for Disney to not have a trailer this late in the game.
Maybe
They
they'll
love
wait.
dropping early trailers.
Maybe they'll wait
I
until
read an
Daredevil has aired.
I read an interview with Iger where he was just like, it's really
Really? Oh,
good.
that's good to know. But again, I think we're kind of in that weird, like, who wants the big political drama in Star Wars? We're the weird ones, I think. But yeah, maybe they all want to focus on Daredevil. I agree with Andy. I think maybe
Yeah,
they
in terms
do.
of, yeah.
I think they do want to focus on that at least until.
Even She-Hulk's solo comic wasn't enough to keep me engaged. She was
Yeah.
always better. She was a very cool addition to the Fantastic Four for a brief time, replacing an injured thing.
Right. Right.
She worked well as a West Coast Avenger,
Yep.
like in a team dynamic. But I never could get on board with her solo stuff.
I don't want to spoil anything about Brave New World, but if you stuck around to the end of the movie, you got that same card that we got in other Captain America movies. Captain America will return.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's the promise of another Avengers team,
Well, right?
right?
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, but there's that.
That
There's
is
the
a theme within the movie.
Yeah.
I actually want to. Maybe we'll save this for another show. I'm interested in talking about Brave New World and how it serves as an Incredible Hulk sequel.
It's that surprised me. That's the one thing that surprised me. It's the sequel I didn't know I needed, I mean, I we'll
There's
talk
some
about it at some
I would
point.
have liked to have some more out of
It
it for
suffered
that
from
reason.
editing problems really badly,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's tough to make. They tested that film. If you haven't seen it, plug your ears. They tested that film in front of audiences, and audiences literally had no idea because it's been 17 years since the Incredible Hulk. So they had to write the newsreel, recapping the Incredible
Yeah.
Hulk movie for everyone,
Which
and
was kind of funny.
even to have things like where Harrison Ford is like, "Have you seen Betty, my daughter?"
My daughter. Yeah,
To his aide,
yeah.
who would know
Exactly.
the president's daughter's name.
You would hope so.
So they had to even tweak the dialogue like that. But I mean, it was a good time. I enjoyed the fights. I enjoyed the
I
action
did. I
and
liked all that
the
stuff. I thought it
effects.
was good.
They spent 2 years. They got the extra 2 years to polish it.
I didn't have a problem with the movie. Like, it was right on point, I think, with what we saw in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I thought that was okay. And it kind of felt like it was on that level. Like, it wasn't earth shattering, but it was highly entertaining.
Yeah. For me, and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. For me, I had problems with like what the biggest problems facing the superheroes in this part of the world were,
Yeah.
and not a mention of the Skrulls.
No.
Not a mention of like these like there was an invasion where half of everybody were Skrulls.
Yeah.
But we should address the Celestial from that other bad movie we had.
But at least they
Anyway,
did that. At
go
least they
see
did
it.
that. Yeah, it's fun, if for no other reason than to see some interesting interactions. Very interesting interaction between Sam and Bucky, which I was not expecting. But I won't say any more than that.
Right.
All right. So, Back in Black series. We are back again next Sunday for Wave 2. And Wave 2, in my opinion, has one of the best promises that was taken away.
Oh my. Oh my. Can't wait to
I'm not
talk
going to
about that.
spoil it. I'm not
Okay.
going to spoil it. When we get to it
Okay.
next week, let me just say, in my opinion, it seems like since The Force Awakens came out and did not deliver on this person, Lucasfilm has gone out of their way to reuse certain props time and time again. And every time it pops up, you and I, Hank, both say the same thing. We both do it. I'm not going to say it now, but you probably know who I'm talking about now. Oh, no, not that one. Not that one.
Okay.
Not that one. Think Nema Outpost.
Oh, okay. All right.
Nema Outpost. Okay. But that's next week. And if you want to tune in and catch Andy and I can't guarantee that we're going to be back on Tuesday. Andy's not feeling well. So if he's not up to snuff for Tuesday, we'll hold off on random. We may push it to Wednesday. Because we just want Andy to get better before.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
More than anything else.
It's not the same without him.
No. Also, keep your ears open. Ron Khan's coming.
Ron Khan 25.
We got some friends coming in from out of the country. Looking very much forward to meeting them. And I don't want to jinx that. I don't want to name drop anybody in case travel plans are not finalized yet. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting some fellow YouTuber podcasters
Awesome.
who are in the nerd space with us. So that's very exciting. What is Josh saying? I want to what? I want to send a picture of my Scion swag collection.
Do it.
Do we do cars? We can do cars.
Yeah, what the hell?
Talking about Scions, I just happen to have. You know what's funny? You're talking about Scions, and I just happen to have one in my hand.
Ooh.
Well, got to cover my eyes. There we go, Scion.
I have one.
It's not even a Toyota. It's a Scion. It's an FRS. And the reason I have this car is because I own this car. I actually have this car. It's in my garage right now. Not this color. But... There we go. What do you? You got a Scion too?
I thought I did. It's weird. It's
TC,
really weird.
XB, XD. Yes, sir. FRS. Only in North America. Everywhere else in the world, it is the Toyota GT86.
It's a Cadet. I thought I had one.
Yes, it is a Toyota technically. Don't tell that to the Subaru guys. They lose their shit. What do you mean
No,
it's
no,
a
no, not here.
BRZ?
It's somewhere. It's kicking around, but it's
All
not
right.
within it. I gotta.
Oh. Oh, that
It's a
looks
comma.
like, what is that? Is that an
It's a
Aston Martin?
no. It's a. It's like a European. It's called a comma.
I don't even know what that is. It looks
Yes,
like kind of like a four-door Aston Martin.
doesn't it? Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
I got it to do some drawings with. It's not a Hot Wheels. It's the other one. The
Matchbox.
Matchbox.
Both owned by Mattel, by the way.
Yes, yes.
That is not true, Josh. It is not the GT86 anymore. It is the GR86. The newest evolution. They changed it, 2 years ago? GR86.
So yes, definitely send your swag over.
Yeah, we want to see that stuff. Okay, that's it for me. I got nothing else that I want to talk about tonight. What about you, Hank? Anything you
No,
want
man,
to
I'm great. That was
end
so
on?
much fun. Always fun
All
to do
right,
these.
it's fun for me to put these things together because they're relatively easy to put together. So, but I find it interesting. Like, I get on these like little rabbit holes. I see the figure and I'm like, okay, just take it for what it is. And then something comes up in our conversation throughout the week, and it's like the lightsaber thing. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
what?
yeah.
What? So I'm learning things that I thought I knew.
It's fun because there are a few different sources that I use for my
Yeah.
old for my checklists at any rate. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the one thing that we're gonna be faced with, and I'll just before we end, is that there's nearly as many um, exclusives as there are regular releases. There's probably about 80 exclusives, and there are 120 releases in this line
Yeah. Yeah. In the red and black
in
box.
the red and black
Yeah.
box.
There's a
So
lot. There
if
is a
we're
lot.
gonna, it's gonna be hard to get those in real time because there's no release date
I know
on them.
that's where
So
I struggle with this. I said that in our private chat, but it's, for the people who are watching, I struggle with like, where do I fit these in? Because the resources that we're using don't necessarily say like, here's the month that this came out.
no,
I get a year. If I'm
right,
lucky, I might get, this figure came out around wave
right,
whatever.
right.
So I'm hoping that through all the review sites that we're using, I'll be able to like piece that together and maybe start incorporating the exclusives in with the waves that they would have
I
accompanied.
know that there's at least 3 figures that were very close to the first wave.
Yeah.
Very close.
Did we talk about them last week?
No, no.
We didn't.
It's the Vader being struck
Oh.
by force lightning, where his
Oh,
head
that's
is sort
coming.
of
Yeah,
see
that's
through.
right. Emperor's
Um,
Wrath Vader.
the snow trooper, but with the pauldron, the force
Oh,
the
the
first order
first order
snow
one.
trooper with the
Yep.
pauldron,
Yep.
and then the giant tie with the elite tie pilot, all around
Yeah.
close to the same time, all
So
before the movie dropped.
I'll take a look at those this week and see how close they are to wave two.
Mafitsu is the best source for that total list,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. 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 No,
again, they don't give you
absolutely.
the release
Absolutely it
dates.
is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we shall have a closer look at that this week. And who knows, maybe we'll have an extra long show next Sunday.
Woo.
All right, everybody. I just want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for finding our channel. We've experienced a little bit of growth in the last couple of weeks. So um, a very humble thank you to those of you
Oh
who
yeah.
are just discovering the channel now. Check out our back catalog. We got a ton of Star Wars review content that we love talking about. Check out our Ewoks review series. We just did
Mhm.
the entirety of season 1, and it was a lot of fun. And like I said, Andor's coming up in about 6 weeks, but stay tuned.
Oh
We will
man.
have lots more between now and then. And I just want to remind you guys that no matter what your thing is, because everybody's got a thing, I've got a bunch of them. Remember, fan on, everybody. And for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
And I'm Hank.
We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.